Flipping off the screen already. uh, Welcome to Sibs Read Smut Podcast. I'm Ned.
I'm Helen.
This is a podcast where we read, rate, review, and tell jokes while all discussing your, but mainly our, favorite smutty novels. Dirty romance. If you have any suggestions or questions, hit us up on the socials, at Sibs Read Smut on TikTok and Insta, and shoot us any notes and stuff at sibsreadsmut@gmail. There we be. On today's podcast, we will be discussing Mile High by Liz Tomforde. Everything's up for grabs. The spoilers. We will be talking about these books in full, beginnings, endings, twists, all fair game. So if you haven't read the book, hit pause, take a listen. We'll wait. All right, off we go. Helen, would you give us a brief description of this book?
I will, and I would love to prepare everyone for a lot of airline humor today. If you would look to the front of the plane while Helen reads you the
safety demonstration.
All right, this is a description of this book written by one and only Ned Donnelly, and all right, let's see if I get canceled. Okay,
buckle in.
Yeah. Buckle up, please. All right. Evan Zander is a bad boy hockey player, but is he? Maybe not, but he does like to fight and fuck. Stevie Ryan is a flight attendant who works for Xander's hockey team. She also likes to fuck. Xander needs Stevie to love him for him, but can she get over his bad boy public persona? Will they become BFWFFs? Best friends who fuck forever? Yes, they will.
Perfect.
I mean, that's quite a succinct description of a 17-hour hockey smut novel.
It was a long one for sure.
And probably the number one critique I saw online was that it was 600 pages.
Yeah, it was thick, much like Stevie, our main character.
Thick. Wow, what a transition, Ned.
I know.
Love that.
Right into it.
Thank you.
Seamless
transition into our female.
She has a lot of body weight issues in this book.
I love
there's
that.
a lot of self-flagellation that she does to herself about her body and the way she looks, and it's a big growing experience throughout the entire thing for her. She likes her body, mind you. She's not hating on herself that much. But she seems overly concerned about what other people are thinking about her throughout a lot of this book.
Loved that. I thought it was very honest. I think I just identify with it as not a size 2. And they never actually said exactly what size she was. I think they let you imagine what you think she is. Girl is thick, in the best ways. And so, but then she gets insecure. Mainly she has an ex-boyfriend who made her feel that way. And so her insecurities stem a lot from him. And then her mom also makes a lot of comments, which makes me sad.
Kind of a butthole.
But also our mom never did. Our mom is also not a size 2, so she couldn't really make comments about me not being a size 2. But I've had friends who have been in those situations before, so I think it's accurate. I mean, it's body image and the way that our current society, and then I think in the sports world, this is very clearly a book about. It's a hockey smut novel, and it's a Chicago hockey team that Xander's plays for, and so she's comparing herself to the other wags, the wives and girlfriends of the players, who are all model thin and tiny, and can wear their boyfriend's jerseys as a dress, and then she's like, I can't get it over my hips. Or whatever.
I mean, the two people that are hardest on her. The boyfriend comes up a little bit, but Tara, her coworker, is a real bitch about
Total
stuff.
Bitch.
And fat shames her about her uniform and how thick it is and all this other kind of stuff, which is really shitty. And then her mom. My note in my notes is Stevie's mom, also a wang.
Yeah.
I was like, just
pretty
really
shitty.
Yeah, real shitty. And when they first meet, he is just not politely eye-fucking her on this plane.
I fucking hated him
and
when they first met.
He was a dickhole for the entire first third of this novel, and he is, giving her shit and thinking that he's funny, and I was like,
she's gonna remember that she works for me.
Yeah, he did not come across as funny as he thought he was being. Like, I think he thought he was being
playful, and he just was a cocky asshole.
Well, and this book had a lot of introductions really quick, and it was hard to follow along.
Really?
At the beginning for me.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of character introductions. You met a lot of people really quick. You met all the hockey team right away. And you're in a chaotic situation of them getting on a plane and, like boarding to go on their first flight where they first meet, which was kind of, like, all right. And I felt like there was a lot of character introductions. You met the fellow hockey players and the coaches and the staff and in Indy, and which I think was another book.
It is.
She's book 2.
Her and Ryan.
But I felt like the Friends. Nope, different series. that was a different series that I was reading.
Well, that is quite a comment, Ned, on this.
I know.
On your experience of this. If you're thinking of other series while you're reading it,
but it's another Chicago.
That's Chicago smut is actually Chicago.
Chicago. It's another Chicago hockey team based smuttery.
Which one?
It was Mr. Charming was I think the latest one.
You have delved into a whole side of romance novels that not even I'm aware of. I've never heard of that.
Mr. Charming. Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. It is Piper Rain.
Where do you find this shit?
There's 4 books in the series. I mean, this one's highly rated on Goodreads. I literally just finished it the other day too. So there's a Nest one and there's this one, and they're all cross-pollinating in my mind. But
get it right. This is Stevie and Xander's. They meet on an airplane. Yeah. She's his flight attendant.
Yeah, flight attendant.
And then he just starts fucking with her, and it's like I love envisioning this plane. So like Chicago bought all their sports teams a new plane, and I feel like it's like Air Force One, like from the Harrison Ford movie. Like it's this giant airplane. It's
get
like
off my plane.
Huge. Get off my plane. And it's like these giant leather seats, and everybody can recline, and like it just seems like it's so comfortable. And then I envision Stevie in this like little tiny cabin in the back with like half a light on, like trying to get everyone their drinks and shit.
Ogling people's hogs. That was my first sex scene that I well, it wasn't sex. It was just 10% in. Stevie's ogling his hog on the plane because they change every time they get on the plane. So she's like totally just like scoping
they strip
him
down
out.
to their box because they have to get on and off the plane wearing a suit.
In suits, yeah.
And so then when they have long flights or overnight flights, they change into sweatpants or comfy clothes so that they can sleep in their giant leather seats, and they all like strip down to their boxers and boxer briefs and then put on gray sweatpants so you can see the outline of the Chicago.
Yeah.
And
Chicago.
And it's so, and I think so there's Stevie, and then her co-worker who becomes a really good friend throughout the series is Indy, and they're in like the back of the plane, and then the bitch flight attendants up front with the coaches trying to suck their dicks. And so the 2 girls in the back like become friends, and they're just like, whoa, I've never worked for a sports, or she worked for a sports team, but it wasn't like this. And and he immediately takes a liking to her because she is not like normal girls. Like she doesn't play into he thought she was asking her for an autograph, and she was like, no, I'm trying to give you the safety demonstration. Like,
I work here, dick.
Yeah, like shut the fuck up. I don't care about your autograph. I don't care who you are. And he was like, oh my God, I'm in love. Like she was like, because she didn't give him the time of day like all the other girls who just threw themselves at him.
So dumb.
I didn't love that, but
well, but she is pissed off at him. He thinks he's flirting with her, but it's really disgusting.
Gross.
And he calls her sweetheart a lot throughout this, which yuck, I hate it. And she does too, which I'm like, good on you. Because
he explains it because she's not sweet to him. So he's like, you don't have a sweet bone in your body, so it's funny and ironic that I'm calling you sweetheart. And she's like, okay, like, fuck off, please don't. That's so patronizing.
Yeah. Well,
but
and when his friend is trying to be the voice of reason in this whole thing of like,
Yeah.
dude, stop screwing with her. Like, let him
it's
alone.
her job. Like,
Yeah,
she's
it's
doing
like
her job.
Stop being a douchebag. But whatever, she starts like fantasizing about him and
Taking
you know,
her master, what her
15% in, Stevie B. Baitin is what I called it.
Stevie B. Baitin.
Stevie B.
No, you
Baitin.
didn't.
And she's picturing Zan while she's doing it, just like with her big purple dildo. And the reason why they get together, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but the reason why they get together is because literally her vibrator runs out of batteries.
Dies.
And she's like, I might as well go get that dick. And it's like, so
Then she like texts him like, you up or something, and
yeah,
he just like replies with an address, and then she goes and gets railed.
So yeah, they hadn't fallen in love yet,
No.
and there's a lot of like asshole-ish stuff back and forth. Her friends that she meets in Atlanta or whatever fucking suck.
Nashville.
Like, they're so mean to her in Nashville and
Yeah.
whatever, and he notices this and like
I think
gets her out of there.
a large plot
which
point
was
that
nice.
we've missed is that so Stevie is the sister of Ryan Shea. So Ryan Shea is like the point guard for the Chicago Bulls or whatever the
Whatever the fake
basketball team
name
is in this world. And so he's very famous in Chicago and loaded. And so she's living in his apartment with him, like
Condo, yeah.
yeah, so yada yada. She ends up in Chicago. She's living with him. She's working for, she's the flight attendant, and she's volunteering at a dog shelter, which comes up a lot later. And so the fact that she's like siblings with a famous basketball player, she is like not impressed by any of these hockey players. She does not like sports players. It's a big thing of hers. Like she dated one of her brother's teammates in college, and that went poorly. So she's never dating sports people again. And then also she, like because of her relationship with Ryan, or because of her brother, she then also doesn't want to like, she thinks she's worried that people only like her because of him.
Yeah. So
I don't know if I
she
said
avoids
that.
the spotlight a lot
Yes,
for that
yeah.
reason too. Like that mega
And
fame
that's why
that
her friends
brother
were
has.
shitty to her, because her friends just the friends in Nashville who she went to high school with, all they cared about was Ryan. And
But
then
also
when
they're
she
blonde mean girls, and she's thick and mixed, so it's like, I think there was more. I think there was more to it than just the
I thought it was just the brother, really, because as soon as they
maybe.
showed up, first of all, she's like, well, I'm going home. I'm like to Nashville where they grew up. I might as well text these girls. Her brother's like, no, they're bitches. Please don't text them. She's like, I'm going to text him anyway. They show up at her hotel room. I just thought this was hilarious. And she had like, I think she finished. What did you just say? Stevie B. Baitin? So Stevie was baitin, and then like she finished to the vision of Evan Xander's the main character, and then she was like pissed that she envisioned him while she
Thought
was
of him
baitin,
during,
and so she threw her purple dildo across the room.
It was just lying on the floor.
Didn't think to pick it up. Her friends show up to go out that night, and they're like, "Is that a dildo?" She's
Literally
just, like,
just inside of her. Like
truly, and she was just like, "Yeah, but like, don't judge. Everybody should have one."
Oh my God.
I mean, like, what do you say?
That scene made me laugh a lot.
I was like, could you not like just be like, oh, I just threw my dildo across the room 2 seconds ago before they knocked. Why don't you like throw on a pair of jeans and put the dildo in your suitcase? Like,
it kind of reminded me of that scene from Fight Club, which I'm sure you don't even remember at all. But Tyler Durden walks into Marla's room, and there's a big dildo stuck to the dresser, and he kind of looks over at it. She kind of shrugs her shoulders, and he kind of gives the dresser a nudge, and it kind of just goes wobble, wobble, wobble. And I'm like, that's exactly what I thought of. Like, they walk in, she goes, huh? Yeah. And they go, okay. And they just bypass it, like, right away. It's like, okay, whatevs.
And, like, to the point, they were like, well, okay, moving on from your dildo, how's Ryan? Like, the friends only cared about Ryan. And then the fact that she worked for a hockey team now, they were like, okay, let's go out and you can introduce us to your hockey team. Like they were, what do they call them? Like puck bunnies or whatever they were trying to be.
Well, I think they were, hoop hogs, puck bunnies. I mean, I think they jump on whatever you could.
Hogs. I've never heard that.
I just made that one up right now. I don't know if I've ever. I don't know. Never heard it anywhere else before. You heard it here first, people. Hoop hogs.
Hoop hogs. It's so unflattering. Just a bunch of like swine following basketball teams around. Like...
I wonder how that's going to play on the audio podcast. Oh man, but he after seeing her and the friends or whatever else at the bar, he decides he needs to sleep with her.
Yes,
he's like, I need to. It's not a want. It's a need.
It's a
need. But they don't. Like they go their separate ways. She freaks out. She leaves because Tara's also been like
the bitchy
beating her up about
boss,
like, hey,
yeah.
you can't
fraternize
and all this
immediate
other shit.
Firing.
Yeah, which is bullshit. She's pretty much, well, maybe she wasn't lying, but she was definitely doing her thing too, trying to hit on these players.
Yes.
But they go back and they don't sleep together yet, and they realize that they live near each other when he goes on the fake Halloween night with
that was
his
cute.
His best friend Madison's wife and kids. The kid Madison is like what, 4 or 5 or
4, young,
and so she decides that everybody needed to dress up like princesses, including the guys.
Yes.
So they got all their friends together and they dressed them up as Disney princesses, and they went through their building and handed out candy to the little girl who missed Halloween because they were on the road for a game.
That was cute.
They talk about what each of them had to dress up as, and I forget. Do you remember which one he was?
He was Elsa, the ice princess.
Elsa. Yeah, so Elsa, and then one was Jasmine, and one was
Rio was Jasmine. I don't remember what the dad was. The mom was Ariel, and she was Belle from the little girl. Yeah. Ella was Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and I think she picked Elsa. So. Evan Zanders has this persona in Chicago where he's like the bad boy and he gets in fights on the ice and he's a ladies' man, and his his agent has him walk out of whatever stadium they're playing in with a different girl every night.
Yeah,
and
his agent was a real butthole too.
Agent, again, this is I feel like the agents always suck. Like the agents are always bad and doing something shady and dirty. So don't ever have an agent. But
when in Rome, for sure.
That's what I was thinking of mostly. And so, so he's got this very much bad boy persona in Chicago sports. And so his foil, like his partner, his best friend is Madison. What is Madison's first name? Eli. I think Eli Madison.
Yeah.
And so they are on the same team. Madison lives in this building. He's married, has 2 kids, and he is essentially like the good guy. He's married. He's got a beautiful wife. He has this charity that they both started, but like Eli Madison gets all the credit for it.
Yeah, he's the face of it.
The golden boy of Chicago sports. And so they have these opposing personas. But in reality, once you get to know Easy behind the scenes, like he is 100% part of Eli Madison's family. Like he's best friends with Eli and the wife, and like he's Uncle Eli, or he's Uncle Xander's to
Uncle Eric or Uncle Sanders. Yeah.
Evan.
Evan
to Ella.
Whatevs.
Yeah. Easy.
Easy.
So he's so it's very much a persona, and I think that's what Ned insinuated in my intro. But so basically, it's not a real persona. It's one that he has put on because he thinks it's making him more money. He thinks it's good for who
I don't know
is.
if he even thinks that, but his
agent does.
His agent has him convinced that this is making him more money.
The only reason that the Chicago teams would re-sign him is because of his persona.
And spoilies. And spoilies, the agent has been withholding an offer from the team that he wants to play for the entire book. Mm-hmm. The entire story, which takes place over the course of an entire calendar season. He had an offer at the beginning of the season. The agent has been telling the team he wants more money. The agent's been telling Easy that he doesn't have a deal in place, and it's because he's not playing into the persona anymore. And it only comes out at the end when he fires him that he's had a deal on the table since the beginning. He was looking at other teams. He was going to move away. He was going to do all this other stuff. And it's like, wow.
The agent really fucked with him.
Yeah, and Eli Madison. They use everybody's last name for the most part. Madison keeps telling him, you got to get rid of this dude. I'm like, this guy's an asshole. Like,
but he
stop
was
working
the
with him.
agent for both of them, I thought. So did
Yeah,
Madison get rid of him too?
He fired him
did.
at the beginning of the season. Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe it wasn't
Yeah.
the beginning of the book, but it was like somewhere in there he let him go.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that his pursuit of her in this interim between when he decides he wants to sleep with her and when he actually does sleep with her, do you think that that's like creepy or cute? Because it's really in the eye of the beholder. Like How I Met Your Mother did a whole series on it. Like it's if the person that you're hitting on, it's all in their eye. If they think it's creepy, it's creepy. If they think it's cute, it's cute. Like, what do you think of his like weird pursuit of her?
I guess I didn't pursue Eye of the Beholder. I mean, right? I knew it was a romance novel going in. So I'm not thinking that it's like a Sandra Brown book where he's like actually going to murder her. Like, I think I definitely saw it as
I almost just stopped
novel.
you, but you said her name right, and I was like,
Sandra.
I had to think about it in my
I
head
am
twice.
right. It is Sandra Brown.
Sorry, Sandy.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that creepy. I mean, it was like, I kind of feel like not she pursued him, but in a way, like.
Well,
I feel like
she at the end when they finally got together, it was her decision. He also told her, "I'm not going to sleep with you until you're begging for it." Like he told her that early on too, and I was like,
"That's such a romance novel kink."
Yeah, and then like right before they actually sleep together, he like rubbed up on her on the plane. Another scene where they're rubbing up on each other in public, and he's all chubbed up, and in the galley of the plane, like rubbing up on her. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, that's not ideal. And then she gets into the whole. The next baiting sesh, I call it another vibe sesh, riding the purple dragon. Purple dildo. Mm-hmm. And then it breaks. So she's like, well, now I got to go sleep with him, I guess. So she hunts him down in this club.
Yep.
And
she texted him on Instagram because there was a whole back and forth where he was trying to follow her, yada yada. So she sent him a message on Instagram, essentially saying like, "You up?" And then he replied with,
"Come to the club." And she hunted the club down and found him and whatever. And
she went to the address that he sent. She didn't hunt him down. Like,
she had to find him in the club. Hunt him down. And then 26% in, taking the Zamboni to Pound Town is what I called that one. So my notes on this one were pretty sparse. It was hotel secret hookup. They had to sneak her into his room because she doesn't want to get fired. He can't really be caught with her either. It would not hurt him at all, but it would hurt her career and everything. She needs this job. It was pretty steamy sex sesh, and they did all the positions.
Go ahead.
I was going to say with a little light choking.
A little light choking.
Right there at the end. A little light choking.
She moved my hand to her neck. Liz Tomforde writes a steamy scene. I mean, she, I think, did a really great job with the sex scenes. I mean, this is a steamy, but it's also, there's so much story to it that it's not like pucking around, which is also hockey smut, where it's just like, it just seems like there's a film of jizz on everything. And this, I just feel like there is actually a lot of backstory. I love a good character depth where they have like these traumatic backstories and things that are hard and things they're working through. And I mean, again, 17 hours. They definitely worked through some things, both sexually and personally. But I thought she did a great job of welding together like real dirty smut scenes and the like actual character development. So good job, Liz.
When he locks himself out of his room, and there were two funny lines right after that, and so he's chasing her. She like bangs him once, and he's like, "I thought we were going to do this a couple more times." And she's like, "Nope." Once was it. Bye. She runs out of there, and he runs after her, locking the door behind him. And he was standing at the elevator, going, "I was trying to cover my."
Yeah.
I was getting there. I was trying to cover my dick with my hand. I have very large hands, but I have a huge dick. And then he's got a knock on Madison's door to like get him in, and he's like taking pictures of him standing outside of the door. And then the next morning, she's getting on the plane, and she sees him walking into the airport or whatever, and she's like, "There's the man that absolutely railed me last night, who gave me this stupid limp with his stupid huge dick."
She was fucking limping on the plane. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh man, that one made me laugh.
A little outrageous. But
and then we find out that he's been in therapy. He has a session with his therapist, and he's been in therapy for like 8 years or whatever.
Snaps.
And
we love a mental health king.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that we found out a lot of his backstory here. Mm-hmm. His mom left when he was young. He always felt like he wasn't enough. His sister. Is she gay in this? I forget. But
she is a lesbian, but she's an attorney, and she was in college when the mom left. So she had a different experience of. So the mom leaves. He's 16, sister's in college, and his dad essentially checks out, like can't deal. And so this is one of those stories that sort of follows through. So the dad. In his mind, 16-year-old mind, his dad just left him as well. So like he didn't abandon him. Like he was working in there and paid for stuff, helped him.
But he had to work a lot more.
But he worked constantly because the mom was gone and he was supporting everything. So in Xander's mind, his mom abandoned him, and his dad also abandoned him. In a different way, also abandoned him. And so he and his sister are very close, but they have different experiences of that. And so the mom, then once Sanders became a professional hockey player and made a lot of money, his mom will he changes his number all the time, so the mom can't find him, but she'll get his number.
She keeps reaching out and he never really answers, but she's looking for cash.
She wants money.
Yeah, you find out that she left to marry some other dude who had a lot of cash, and just pretty much has been chasing that money, since she left him like 20 years ago. And then they end up having so they both have a terrible Christmas with their parents or whatever, and they end up having a nice chat together on the sidewalk. He's still trying to get that poon again, and she's not gonna happen, and
I think
she's horny for it, but she's holding off because of his reputation. She does not want to be one of his, militia of whores around town. Then they have that super horny airplane kiss for New Year's Eve on the plane. That's about halfway through. My note under that was Happy New Year's to your penis. Mm-hmm. Oh man! And then we start learning more about her ex-boyfriend, who is one of her brother's good friends from college, and he's a huge taint. He shows up and he moves. I think moves the story forward a lot, in that he's gonna move to Chicago and wants to become a part of their friendships again, and finally. And so then Stevie is honest with Xanders about why this guy was so toxic and what happened and all this stuff, but she has not told her family that. So her family is like, "Oh, well, why can't you get he was so great. He was such a great friend. Let's have him move to Chicago and be a part of our lives again." And she's like, "No." And so then Xanders takes it upon himself to drop some hints with her family of he was actually tells Ryan,
terrible.
Her brother, hey, this dude sucks, and I'm not. I can't tell you why. That's
Stevie has
burden to reveal, but fuck you for even trying to bring this dude back around again.
Yeah.
And
so it moves the story forward. He's definitely
and he pops up a couple more times throughout, and Ryan, to his credit, takes care of business down in Florida.
The bar. They're all at the same bar.
Sanders goes to punch him in the face, and Ryan, the brother, ends up going over there and clocking him, as well. Well, he had told his friend group from college not to bring this guy. And they brought him anyway. And he's like, "I told you guys, get this motherfucker away from me and my family and whatever else," and then punches him right in the face. And that was it's always nice to see.
Did you enjoy that?
It's always nice to see a douche get their comeuppance,
You said that with too much glee. You were like, "Punched, motherfucker."
Punch, motherfucker. Yeah, but to that end, Ryan also at this event when Brett gets introduced for the first time, gives Xander's like the big brother speech, the hey, like if you heard her kind of thing. And I was thinking, do you remember what I said to you about your husband when I was going to meet him for the first time?
Ben?
Yeah.
No.
First time you were introducing me to Ben.
At my 30th?
I don't know, whenever it was, you were taking me to meet, you were like, hey, I haven't seen this guy, whatever else. And I think we were going to meet him for the first time. And I was like, I don't need to know anything about him. I just go, I was like, does he know how big I am? And I go, does he know that the long arm of the Donnelly clan reaches far and wide? Mm-hmm. And you're like, yes. And I go, great. Great.
Yeah. Or the eternal advice from college of protect your carnal treasure. That'll never go away. Yeah.
I didn't even need to say anything to Ben. It was just like, yeah.
Well,
At your wedding, I said, she's your problem now.
I am not a problem. How dare you?
You're the whole problem.
I was going to say, I'm a big-ass problem. Let me be clear.
Well, do you remember that TikTok video or whatever of the mom asking the little girl, do you want to be part of the problem or part of the solution? She goes, I want to be the whole problem. That sticks in my brain, and hopefully your daughter will get that same big girl energy.
She already is the whole problem. Tonight during bedtime, she was the whole problem.
Man.
Anyway,
and then we start like deep diving into the whole animal shelter stuff.
Yeah, I liked that side.
I thought it was a good side story.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Also. Not the only. There's another series about Chicago, Chicago hockey that has a whole dog center thing to it as well. Which I was like,
I was
getting them all confused in my brain. But
this was a senior dog center.
Yeah, but Xanders takes Ella to meet this dog that apparently he's been secretly visiting for like the last 6 months or whatever. And he's like, I can't adopt her until I take my niece to go visit her. And then that's when Stevie finds out, swoon, that he's been going there for months behind her back and meeting the dog and is going to take her home that day or whatever. And then she's doing the house visit to make sure that the dog's going to be okay.
The dog costs $50 to buy, to like adopt the dog, and so he writes a check for $50,000, and the owner of the shelter's like, you filled this out wrong, and he's like, no, I didn't.
Thonk, just dropping that big D right on the table.
So honk. He does have a lot of money and he likes to show it off, but the whole
bling conversation too, he's got rocks on every wrist, he's got chains and all this stuff.
His money does come up quite a bit throughout this. And so anyway, so he makes this huge donation, and part of adopting the dog is that they're supposed to do a home visit to make sure that the home is set up for the dog, and obviously
it's got a bed and it's not going to electrocute him or something.
They were like, well, we can skip that for you, like we trust you and yada yada. And Ryan was like, or no, not Ryan, Evan Xanders was like, no, you cannot skip it. Stevie has to come tonight to my house at 7 p.m. and she needs to do the home visit just like you would do for anybody else. And so he like tricks her into a date kind of.
Well, and the old broad that owns the place is like, yes, honey, you need to go over there and do that. Totally like matchmaking them. And she gets there, and that was another scene where I was like, she gets there and he's not answering the door, and she's like getting pissed and I'm going to leave or whatever, and I'm going, that's not great. Well, it turns out that his mom had just called, and he had actually answered the phone and had a horrible conversation, had a panic attack. He was in the shower, which then he answers the door in a towel.
She opens the door. She is about to leave, and she's pissed, and then she's like, you know what? I'm going to tell him off to his face, and she tries the door, and it's unlocked, and so she marches into the apartment, and he's just at the end of the hallway in a towel, like, Stevie?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize what time it was. Like, I got distracted, and you could tell that. And so she goes and hugs him right away. She can tell
it comes
that
out,
he'd been crying.
And another emotional golden shower. He just sprays his emotions all over her. And
I loved that.
And then he decided he was setting up this whole date, and halfway through realizes, oh my God, this is the worst. She's going to hate all of this.
Well,
so he
it was a fancy date, and so he
orders a smorgasbord of food of all, of all the places that he thinks she would like.
All the best takeout in Chicago.
Yeah. And so I hit 52% and I called this sex buffet style.
That's very accurate.
Yeah. I eat in the kitchen. And
and the neighbors, so they're in these two fancy apartment buildings, and so the Madisons and
across
Ryan,
the street from each other, yeah.
Yeah, so Ryan, Shay, and Stevie live in the same building as the Madisons on one side of the street, and then they look across the street to this other twin fancy glass high rise near Navy Pier in Chicago. And so they can see into each other's apartments, and so at some point they're
starting to bone down. Yeah,
they're starting to bone down in the kitchen, and Xander's phone starts blowing up, and he's like, God damn it. And he picks it up and he sees it's Madison being like, shut your fucking blinds. And then he is closing, Madison's closing his blinds, but gives him a thumbs up. And it's good on ya. And so then Xander's is like, oh my God, and has to close the blinds. That made me laugh really hard.
Yeah. Well, and then halfway through the night, they just condos out the door.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
no condos, and they just start raw dogging it. And
for a professional athlete, you have to think, you have to be smart. I don't know.
Well, and they both fucked. We skipped over this part a little bit, but she describes at the beginning the reason she loves being a flight attendant is because she can just bone down in every town and get on the apps and go fuck.
Oh, that's true. You're right. She does go on the apps, but he had this. This came up actually in a lot of Goodreads comments. People fucking hated Xander's because he had a roster of women in every town. He kept it in his notes app on his phone, and it was Cheryl, great tits, Becky, good lay, flat ass. He had all these chicks.
You gotta keep it straight somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure his little black book was in his notes app on his phone,
which came up later, which was funny later on down the line. He's like, read my notes on all my hookups in these towns, and it was all him describing banging her in all these towns or whatever, which ended up being a very cute moment. But then he I think he puts some of her body shaming to rest when he's the next morning he's sit on my face, and I called that chapter "Who Wants a Mustache Ride," even though he doesn't have a mustache. But he's leave the lights on. They have an argument about leaving the lights on. He's like, I want to see your body, and she's like, no, and they get into it. He's like, I've been in therapy for 8 years, and it's okay, whatever.
I just felt like her insecurities, super honest. I felt like they were well written. I identified with them. And then his experience with therapy, I liked it. It didn't feel too gimmicky as sometimes they do in these kinds of books. So they have the charity that they started that provides mental health therapy to young athletes who are going through things to help them stay in sports and whatever. And so that's what they're Madison and Xander's big charity is all about. So it's all about therapy, and it comes up a bunch throughout the book as he's, kind of dealing with the panic attacks that he has around his mom, and as he's dealing with his persona in Chicago and how to navigate. He likes his persona because he feels like it protects him from being, if people don't love him. Yeah, if people don't love him, it's because they don't like this fake persona. So it's not really him. And so he's never being hated, but because nobody knows the real him except this very small amount of people. And so he's very much using it as a protective device. But
he starts falling for her pretty quick. I mean, they fall into it pretty quickly here, and then the scenes start going fast after that.
Yeah.
So, it's 6% later, 59%. He's talking about wanting to do her on the airplane, Mile High Club or whatever. She's like, it's actually miles high.
It's 7 miles in the air. Yeah.
And he's like, I don't care. So she's like, well, why don't I just bang you in your car? And because she's still wearing her stewardess outfit. Flight attendant outfit.
Thank you.
So I called that 0 miles high. 0 miles high club.
Grounded.
Hashtag car sex. And then finally she comes clean to her brother about the whole Brett thing. And it's like, that he really treated me bad. He said he had other options. He was not very nice about it, and he immediately had her back. Like,
Yeah.
it was
They're twins.
that was nice to see too.
Yeah.
And it was. I think all the relationships that they had outside of the one with each other was like were all very nice.
Mm-hmm.
The other coworkers or people ancillary to their lives were all assholes. It was like they're direct friends. Madison and Ryan.
Yeah.
And whatever, Andy from the plane, all
Indy.
super sweet. Indy,
Yeah.
all super sweet, all super nice. But then you go one step out, you have Brett, you have Tara, you have like the agent, you have all these other people, and his mom, her mom, who all fucking suck. And then it's it's like, but they clear the air. Then
Who's they? Who clears the air?
Ryan, her brother, and Stevie.
Yes. Okay.
Clear the air between them. And then, like 65%, there's the crowded birthday party hand Joe in the bathroom when she meets the sister for the first time. She's literally jerking him off in the bathroom, and the sister comes in and is like, "Where's my brother at?" And he's getting a hand jibber in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And they go out, and she's like, I knew exactly what you were doing in there.
Yeah. See it on your faces.
Great way to see your brother's girlfriend for the first time. And then the wet beach hump is after that.
And that's when she kind of gets caught by Tara, who
Tara still a butthole is what my note says.
Still a butthole.
Still a butthole.
She sees that she's wet coming in, but she's not. She's alone. She's just coming in. She's like, I went for a swim, and she's like, I don't believe you. And she's like, you don't have to. I don't.
Well, and Rich is being a real shart stain as well.
Who's Rich?
Rich is the agent.
Oh, the agent. Yeah.
He's stops protecting him, and their relationship gets outed on all the socials.
He sets up the paparazzi to come and ambush them, which is very similar to other books.
Yeah, and
Agents,
Xander breaks up with her like a fucking idiot for her 75%. Protection. And then finally Madison or whatever talks some sense into him. It's like whatever, and then she has been hounded for her body type and everything else by the media for the last couple of days, and her speech on the front steps of her apartment building when she takes her jacket off and she walks out there, it's like, this is who I am, I don't give a shit. It was a little unhinged, but it was great. I mean, it was great to by the end of it, all these reporters are like, golf clap.
Right.
She's probably not wrong about us. Which was okay. And then pretty much right after that, she's leaving town because now that Xander broke up with her, she's like, I can't work for them anymore. She quits her job. She's going to get a job across the country, whatever else. But she's literally about to go to the airport to fly to Seattle for an interview, and sees Xander's mom outside, and she walks over to her and gives her what for, and it's just blasts her right on the sidewalk, and Xander's upstairs watching her do this, kind of going yeah, give it to her. And then they actually have a very productive conversation, i.e. he tells her, go suck a fat one, you're not getting anything from me, and I don't want you in my life anymore. The mom, not Stevie. And it's okay, he finally, through seemingly nothing other than just getting his shit together, there's no therapist conversation about it. He doesn't talk to Stevie about it really. He just kind of gets over his mom thing. Maybe the 8 years of previous therapy.
He talked to his dad and sister a little bit because he repairs his relationship with his dad for sure.
That was afterwards.
Yeah,
because he'd already dumped her. But then another emotional golden shower with the dad in the pool when they're playing pool. I mean, that was who's cutting onions. It's who's cutting onions in this scene. That was really very emotional. They fucking win the cup, by the way, too.
Yeah,
just spoilies. And he got her a ticket. Wasn't sure she would be there. He was sure she was going to be there. And then he's looking for her on the ice after the game. Can't see her. She did go to the game, but it was too crowded. She couldn't get down to the ice to celebrate with them. So she left and went to his apartment. and waited for him, and he went out partying with the boys, Ferda boys, and went and got drunk, broke his phone, and like couldn't she couldn't get a hold of him. And so she's like, oh my God, he's done with me forever. So they have this like kind of missed connection, at the end, which leads to like the whole grand gesture, like, it's a tirade, not a tirade, but a tsunami of grand gestures coming down the line here.
Did he run? Did he run for the grand gesture?
There were too many people. But he took his dog and had to fight his way through a big crowd, which I think, it's comparable. It's comparable.
Okay, good count as running.
So they're in Chicago doing the parade, and he has the entire bus route stop to go into the old dog shelter, the old dog, adoption place. And he sees her, and the cameras follow him in. He's like, I love you. If you can handle my persona or my crazy life, like I want you. And she's like, oh my God. And they start kissing, and it's like, okay. And then of course it's on the TVs all around, so everybody's cheering. She walks out to an entire sea of like, way to get boned by this dude, like crowd. And then he finally gets his contract with Chicago. As part of the contract, he says, you have to fully fund this shelter full time. So she gets a full-time job at the shelter. The shelter is giving therapy dogs to his charity, and the team is like fully supporting both of their charitable organizations, and it's like a big orgy of grand gestures at the end there. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think that pretty much sums up the entire thing, Smelly.
It does. Would you? You read it twice, right? This was your second time reading.
It's my second read. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this your first?
No. I made you read this one. I think I loved this book. The
cover's
time.
good. The cover's good. We did not talk about the cover at the top.
Cover is just Chicago with an airplane.
I like Chicago.
There's not even people on the cover.
Doesn't matter. I like Chicago. It's a great skyline.
It is a great skyline. It's a great city. I'll rep my hometown.
Yeah, I could have done without the plane on there, but the skyline's nice. Oh, and this is book 1 of 4 in the series. Oh,
their
right.
fifth one either came out is coming out this month or next month, but it's Rio's story. So book 2 is Ryan, Stevie's brother. So basketball. Books 3 and 4, I think, are both the baseball team.
Yeah.
And then book 5 is back to Rio, who's like the sidekick in book 1. And I think he shows up throughout all of the books. But so Rio's story is coming out now, like this month or next.
Well, expected publication 2025. I don't think that
I thought it was
come out yet.
Soon. No, it's not out, but I think it's coming out soon. Anyway,
May 20.
There you go. So,
so right after this episode airs, or maybe right just before this episode actually airs.
What timing?
I know, right?
But yeah, this whole series, Liz Tomforde, I really enjoy her writing. She definitely does a lot of research into the sports. It's not like you're reading it and you're like, this could be any sport. There's also not a lot of technical talk about the actual hockey. There's a couple we went to the penalty box for icing or whatever, but
not a penalty offense. But.
I know my lingo. But
well, you said two things; they have nothing to do with each other. But okay.
So she's a great writer. I have enjoyed every book in this series. I thought they were all really well done. All very steamy. The steam is always there.
Would you call this? What would you call this? Would you say that this is medium plus, spicy?
I would say medium plus or spicy. I would say medium plus. Spicy in my mind has the film of jizz on it that I referred to earlier, of just everything feels sticky in those books. This book had so much else to it that I would say medium plus. So the sex scenes are hot and spicy and I like them, but they make sense within the greater context of the book. They're This isn't one of those books where like the porn is the plot. This is definitely like, and that's my sort of deciding factor is like, there's definitely a plot and there's some sex, but this is not porn as plot. Okay. Yeah. That nobody needed to see. You put your finger in there. Okay. Would you...
Way to describe it for the listening audience.
I know. I'm trying to remember that we are a children's show on the radio.
YouTube has only flagged 3 of our videos for for child like can't watch this regulations.
Yeah. Like, do you realize that children use this app? Okay. So, would you recommend this book, Ned?
Yeah, I think as a series, it is worth it. I mean, this first one, I can't remember how long the other ones are.
Long, but they're all long.
They're all pretty long. I mean, I think this one is good, but I think that the 2 baseball ones and Ryan Shea, I think have more better. I think they have more likable leads. Like Xander is not that likable to me.
Yeah.
So like I think Ryan Shea is just a nice guy who kind of like can't or doesn't want. He's married to basketball. Like he doesn't want a girlfriend really, and he kind of like gets forced into it. But he's more likable than Xander's is, and that's I think true. the other books have even like the Playboy-esque style. Mm-hmm. The 4th one about the younger baseball brother. Like he's like a baseball playboy, but he comes off so much better than Xander's does. That I would say yes, definitely read it, especially as part of the series. It sets up the whole rest of the series.
Yeah.
But I think she has much better characters and character arcs in her later books.
Ditto. I agree.
And you can also read them standalone too. Like there's a lot of overlap between the friend groups and everything, but it is not. It's not
necessary, but I would say read them all.
There's a lot of world building in this book that you don't get, and there's backstory that you don't necessarily need it, but it qualifies a lot of stuff in book 2. Book 3 is a completely different thing.
Yeah, it's a different team, so it's
I mean, they're still in the friend group, like they're still all friends together. There's still some kind of weird overlap relationship between all of these people.
Yeah.
But it is definitely more loosey-goosey with the backstory.
I do think it's interesting. I feel like a lot of times when we read these, you love a good series. And you oftentimes, when we are reading a book for like the pod or whatever, you'll read the book and then you'll read like 4 more. You'll like finish the entire series. You're like, I read the book we were supposed to read and then I read 4 more. And it's like, okay, well, Jesus Christ, you read too much.
Especially if they're all available right away from the library.
But you didn't do that with this series.
But I've read them all.
I know, but you didn't go through and read, like, you've read all of them before for other series and you reread them all to get the whole, like, thing. You didn't do that. Why?
Not all of them were available at the library right away.
Okay.
And we had so many books at the library that were about to go off of hold, or not off of hold, but off of rental, that I'm like, I got to catch up on those. And then I might go back. But also, getting through a 17-hour book I've listened to already is like, I gotta really love it to get through it. And I'm not saying that I didn't love the later books in this series. It's just a matter of availability and time. And it's I'm halfway through book 2 in Mr. Masters series. And I'm halfway through that book, but other books have come up, and it's on my Kindle still. Haven't gotten through it yet, but it's there. But the
DNF.
Did we already ask you if you were going to recommend this book or not?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend it.
Did you give us a definitive answer?
I did not give you a definitive answer. I am definitely going to recommend it. I think it's a great, like, one, it's Chicago, so it's where I'm from, so it's like a fun to read about the city. Although, I mean, they don't do a ton of Chicago name dropping. And then, I mean, there's so much like story and steam that I feel like it's a fun. I'll warn you that it's like a long ass book, but if you're going on a beach vacation, this is a great thing to throw in your bag. I don't know. I think it's
Really, it'll ramp you up for your nighttime with your hubby. Try out some of that stuff.
When you're on
rubbing
vacation
up on
with
the
your
plane.
kids, when you're on vacation with your kids, there is nothing better than getting horny in your hotel room. Yeah.
No, that was gonna be gross. That was gonna be gross. I was trying to think of like.
No, don't even explain it.
All right.
You know what?
Do you know what we have coming up next week?
I actually looked because I knew you were going to ask me this question, and now yes. Oh nope! Stop it! Do not. It is tutoring the player. Is this another hockey smut?
By who?
I have no idea. Jen.
Rebecca Jenshak.
Okay, I got part of the last
You were
name.
close. You were
Jen?
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tutoring the player. Is this another hockey smut? Are we doing hockey v hockey?
I don't.
It wasn't our best idea
Tutoring
if
the
it
player.
was.
Well, this is her campus wallflower series, and they have a variety. It is hockey.
It is hockey.
It is
Awesome.
also hockey.
Great.
But she like Elle Kennedy has writes books about. There's 4 or 5 different books, all on the same college campus and whatever else. It is sporty romance.
Sporty romance.
I've read this one. You have not.
No, I know this is a first timer for me. What did you put this spice level?
I don't think I ranked it. I would say this is probably. She in general I think is probably a medium plus.
Okay.
But I was confusing this book that we literally just finished with 4 other series. So, I might have to read it again to remember exactly where it should be on the spicy burrito scale.
Spice-o-meter. Oh boy. All right. Well, so then we've done Pucking Around is hockey smut, Mile High is hockey smut, and then this Tutoring the Player. We're really jamming in the hockey smut.
Jamming it in.
And my friend texted us the other day about a Pittsburgh hockey smut series that we're gonna wedge in here somehow.
Yeah,
Whether
we just
sooner or
downloaded
later,
the first book. Yeah,
I know. I'm very curious to see how those go. How our hometown ranks in the spicy
smut factor,
the spicy meatball. Factory.
All right. Well, I think at the end of the day, if you like our bullshit, please rate, review, click that subscribe button, all that good stuff. And we already went over Rebecca Jenshak next week, Tutoring the Player. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week, Smutters.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
And out.
Out.